Hello and welcome to this video in which we shall discuss features of exponential and log functions. So we're required to find the features of this function, -2 times half power x plus 4. So the function is an exponential function, and exponential functions have horizontal asymptotes. So this here is a horizontal asymptote, and the equation is y equals 4. So we have a horizontal asymptote of y equals 4. The range of the function goes from 4 to -infinity. These are the vertical values covered by this function. So from -infinity to 4 to +4, which is this one. And is it increasing or decreasing? So we have to trace it from left to right. So it's increasing on its domain. And what is the domain here? So towards the right, we see that x approaches +infinity. Towards the left, it's moving to the left, no restrictions, so x approaches -infinity. So -infinity to +infinity in the domain. Now the end behavior on the left, we said already that x approaches -infinity and y as well approaches -infinity because it's moving down. So as x approaches -infinity, y approaches -infinity. And the end behavior on the right is that as x approaches infinity, the maximum for y has to be 4. So as x approaches infinity, y approaches 4 on the right, and that's it. Let's try another one. So again, this is an exponential function, and we know that the asymptote is horizontal. We need to get the equation of the asymptote, which is this line here. So y equals 4. So we have y equals 4. The range of the function is all vertical values in this area. So from 4 on top to -infinity at the bottom. So the range is from -infinity to 4. And is it increasing or decreasing? We have to move from left to right and figure this out. So from left to right, we have a decreasing function. And the domain is, so from the left, we know that x is moving with no restriction. So x is approaching -infinity. From the right, we see that x is moving without restriction as well to the right. So x approaches +infinity. The end behavior on the left side, we already got the x, we need to get the y. So on the left side, we see that the y does not cross the 4. So y approaches 4. So as x approaches -infinity, y approaches 4. The end behavior on the right side is as x approaches infinity, y approaches -infinity. There is no restriction and it's moving down. So y approaches -infinity. So as x approaches infinity, y approaches -infinity. Let's try a third example. So again, the function here is an exponential function, and the asymptote is a horizontal asymptote at y equals 6. So we have a horizontal asymptote of y equals to 6. Now the range of the function is the set of values here, which is from -infinity to 6. So -infinity to +6. And is it increasing or decreasing? We have to move from left to right. We see that the function is decreasing on its domain. And the domain means we have to get the end behavior of x. So here x approaches -infinity. Here x approaches +infinity. So I should use an arrow, not an equal. So x approaches -infinity. And on the right, it's moving to the right and down. So x is approaching +infinity and y is approaching -infinity. And here we said that y is approaching +6. So we're ready to fill everything else. So the domain is from negative infinity to infinity. The end behavior on the left is x approaches negative infinity and y approaches positive 6. And on the right, both are infinity, but y is negative. So x approaches infinity and y approaches negative infinity. And this concludes this question as well. And this brings us to the end of our video. I hope this has been beneficial. Thank you for watching.